William Hall will provide the history and marketing. William is a world-renowned tea taster and maker. He partners with the Bigelow Tea in overseeing the daily operations at the Charleston Tea Plantation. He established the American Classic Tea brand. William is not only responsible for growing, harvesting, processing, manufacturing, and packaging, but the final product of tea for America's only tea garden, period. He is a third-generation tea taster, receiving formal training in a 4-year tea apprenticeship in London. As an international tea buyer, his expertise is sought around the globe. And at this time, I introduce you to William.
After such a nice introduction, I think I should have put a suit on and cut my hair before I came. I hope you'll forgive me, but basically I'm just a poor farmer is what I am. Okay? I'll get started. Can everyone hear me okay? Sure. Okay. Charleston Tea Plantation is the only tea plantation in America. And America consumes 200 million pounds of tea a year. Every pound is imported from other countries. We're the only company that actually grows tea in America, packages up, and sells it. And there's no reason down the road that we can eventually supply all of America with tea. But at the moment, we're not even 1% of the production, the consumption in the U.S. We're way less than 1%. So we're a small company growing, but it is the only tea grown in this country.
Well, we may get the show again. We
got it? Okay. So we move to the next one. I just click that button, right?
Yeah, I'll step into it.
Okay. Okay. This is a picture of the tea plantation. I was told always when public speaking, you have to say your main point 3 times for everyone to understand it. This is the only tea plantation in America. Does everyone realize that? Okay. All right. Now tea, I guess these are the tea plants. This is the entrance to it, and those that you see to the side are our tea plants. Tea, interestingly enough, is a camellia. I don't know if anyone's from the South, but a lot of people have heard of Camellia sasanqua, Camellia japonica. Well, tea is also a camellia. It's called Camellia sinensis. Sinensis in Latin is Chinese, so therefore it's a Chinese camellia. This is the only plant used to make tea, and it's the only plant, only camellia that has caffeine in it, and that's why it's used for tea. Now, a brief history of the legend of tea. Tea was discovered in 2737 BC, January 10th or 11th. What happened then was there was an Emperor Shanmeng at the time in China that was a botanist, and at that time they all drank water. And they were going through the fields with the entourage, and they stopped, and obviously before you drink water, you boil it. They stopped under a tea tree, boiling water. Some of the leaves fell into his boiling water. He tried it, felt revived from the caffeine, and from that day on, he wanted a cup of tea every day. So that's how far back tea is dated. There's another legend, not quite so nice, where a Buddhist monk wanted to stay awake for 100 years. And he got so upset with himself that he kept falling asleep that he cut his eyelids off, threw them on the ground, and 2 tea bushes grew up from his eyelids. basically, the caffeine is what keeps you going. Tea is, like as I said, a camellia. The quick history of tea was always in China. Then from China, it moved to the U.S. and, well, China, Europe, U.S., and it is the second most consumed beverage in the world. Can anyone guess which is number one?
Water.
Water, exactly. So it surprises a lot of Americans that tea is the second most consumed beverage in the world, mainly because we're a coffee drinking nation. Why are we a coffee drinking nation? Very simple. The American Revolution. Taxation without representation. So now we have our own tea company in America. So the only way to be sure we won the war against the British is you need to drink American-grown tea. If you think about it, this is why we went to war with them. And we think we won the war. No, we're still paying them for tea. Why? Lipton, is that a U.S. company? No, it's owned by Unilever, a big British-Dutch corporation. Tetley Tea, owned by Allied Breweries, another huge English corporation. So trust me, we need to think American here. Anyways, I digress. Tea came to the U.S. in 1799, and it went to Charleston, a place called Middleton Place. A French botanist brought plants over. His name was André Mouchot. Started planting them just for ornamental purposes. There's been 3 attempts really to grow tea in America. The first one started in the 1830s in Greenville, South Carolina. Julius Smith started growing tea. Takes 5 years to grow the plant. I'm sorry, you're British too, with your accent.
I actually, no, I'm South African.
Oh, okay.
But this is spelled in the UK, so I can drink tea.
Okay, good.
Both kinds.
So Julius Smith started the first tea plantation, 1830s. Takes 5 years to grow the tea plant up to maturity. And in his 5th year, he was beat up on his tea plantation by a group of ruffians and died as a result of the beating. And that was the end of tea in Greenville. And then about 15 years later, up the coast in a place called Georgetown, South Carolina, Alex Foster started growing tea. And believe it or not, in his 5th year, he was riding his carriage, fell off his carriage, broke his neck, and died. That was the second attempt. Third attempt was in Somerville, near the airport, near Charleston, and that was Dr. Charles Shepard. He went from 1888 to 1915. In 1915, he died, natural causes. Nothing happened to him. And that was basically the end of tea growing in America and until 1960. In 1960, now tea plants live for hundreds of years. There's tea plants on record 600 years old, still producing tea. So these plants don't die. So in 1960, in 1915, Dr. Shepard stopped. In 1960, Lipton came in, took cuttings of these plants that were planted in 1888 and moved them to Wadmalaw Island, where we currently are. Lipton had it from 1960 to 1987 as an R&D place, just research and development, no sale to commercial or to the supermarkets or any sales outside. And then in 1987, I purchased it from Lipton and converted it from an R&D into a commercial operation. So that's how we got to the beginning of where we are. These are some of our tea fields here. This is a blossom. It's camellia, so it does flower at the end of the season. Go to the next slide. No, back. Can you go back a couple? One more. There we go. 2 leaves and a bud. What is used to make tea is just the top growth. 2 leaves and the next bud. And tea comes up, new leaves come up every 15 days. So it's a constant harvest. We begin production in April, end of April, early May, and and go till the end of October. So we're harvesting so much of the farm each day. By the 15th day, we're back at the original field again. So it's a constant harvest for 6 months. And all you do is take off those 2 leaves and a bud. Now, this is done, the reason we are the only tea plantation in America is most of the tea is grown in countries like India, Ceylon, which is Sri Lanka now, Africa, Indonesia, and most of the tea is harvested by hand. So they have tea pickers out in the fields picking these leaves. The average salary for a tea picker in these countries is about $2.50 a week salary. We couldn't find anyone in Charleston prepared to work for $2.50 a week, except me, of course. So, if you go to the next slide, okay, one more. We developed a harvester. So with American technology, this machine is the equivalent of 500 to 600 workers in the field. And what it does is straddle the hedgerow, and as the new leaves grow up, it cuts off the new leaves. Up front, let me explain it real quick. How are we doing time?
About 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Forget that then. I haven't been here 15 minutes already. Okay, so we need to jump ahead. That's the reason we can grow tea in America. With American technology, we can harvest the tea. Next slide. The tea leaves are then brought to the factory, goes through the stage, which is withering the tea. We want to reduce the moisture from 80% down to 68%. At the same time, keeping them fresh. These are the leaves entering the machine. Next one. Middle of the machine where it drops and gets flipped over. And then the end where it falls off the machine, that takes 18 hours to reduce the moisture from 80 to 68%. It then goes through the grinding stage to rupture the cell wall and expose the tea juices to the air. Now there's only 3 basic teas in the world. There's green tea, black tea, and oolong tea. They all come from the same plant. It's how you make them. For green tea, as soon as the leaves are harvested, you steam them. By steaming them, you kill the enzyme that allows it to naturally change colors. For black tea, you let the enzyme build, and then when you grind it and spread it out on a conveyor, in about 15 to 20 minutes, it starts turning from green to a coppery orange color. A lot like if you took a bite of an apple, left it on the counter, came back half an hour later, that apple's beginning to change color. Same thing happens with the tea. Then into the dryer, dried off, that's black tea. Oolong is kind of half green, half black, so it's a combination of the two, but they all come from the same plant. Okay, next slide. These are our products. Come up and get some tea bags before you all leave. We also do loose tea, which is the purest way to drink tea, instead of tea bags. And we have this ready-to-drink tea, which is big in America. Actually, interesting, America is the only country in the world that really drinks iced tea. 80% of all the tea consumed in America is iced. In the South, that figure goes to 99%. We also do a hand therapy that we infuse with tea. What's next? There's a festival. We have a festival. We're open to the public 5 to 7 days a week. And we have what we call a first flush festival. Nothing to do with the bathroom. It's the first time the leaves flush up from the plant. We have a trolley that takes you around. You can go on a trolley ride around the farm. Free. The trolley we do charge for, but entrance is free to the tea farm, and you can actually see the tea being made. This is what I looked like about 6 months ago. But actually, this is what it looks like when I started the farm, and you can see what I look like now. Next slide. There you go. Life sucks. Now, quickly, I'm going to hit on a couple things in marketing that are important to everyone to remember. Very quickly. Be different. Be different than other people. Have something different to market, and identify what your market is. Those are the two most important things that I can say. And briefly, don't let anyone fool you. There's also luck involved in starting a new company. People say hard work, you'll get through it. Yes, you will, but you also need luck. Thank you very much.